Hey everyone, and welcome to 121 in Flux. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we talk about movies on this show. This is the first time in a while we've actually had a regular episode, because the last two we've done have both been Patreon picks, because we've had a really light schedule. Well, we've had a very heavy schedule, which has resulted in a very light schedule of this particular show. But here we go, we're back, and we are going to be tackling Short Term 12, a film that came out in 2013, starring Brie Larson and a host of other faces that are very recognisable. I think I'd forgotten how many people I was expecting to see in this that I knew from other things.
Yeah, definitely. And then now there's people in this that obviously I would have had no clue who they were at the time. That now it's like, oh yeah, I know a lot of these people now.
Yeah, Stephanie Beatriz from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Rami Malek from Mr. Robot.
Yeah, Lakeith Stanfield, recognizing him now.
Yeah, what's he been in?
Most recently, he was the lead in Sorry to Bother You.
Do you know what? I didn't even recognise him.
Yeah, I saw him in the Netflix Death Note film last year, I want to say.
Yeah, I was in Get Out as well. Yeah,
Was he in Get Out?
Yeah, he's the one that actually says Get Out. Basically, to put it simply.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's so much younger looking here, because he's just turning 18, which obviously is part of the plot in the movie. But
yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of like his first big role, right?
yeah, yeah. Obviously he's got the goatee now, when you see him. So, well, there you go. Look at that. So yeah, a lot of faces in this who would become more notable later on.
Yes.
Maybe not quite household names. I'm pretty sure nerds like us know who all these people are. I don't think your average Joe necessarily will know who most of them are.
They'll probably know Brie Larson.
Well,
they'll know her.
They will know her in March. I don't think they'll know her yet.
I don't know. She was like all over the place. Like when we had like Kong Skull Island. I saw her all over the TV a lot.
She's on the tipping point. I feel like Kong Skull Island, like she is technically leading that, but that movie wasn't that much of a hit. And
no, but you had Kong Skull Island, which was not that long after Room, and
but average Joes don't know about Room or care about Room.
Well, no. I don't think a lot of them necessarily saw the movie, but I think a lot of them saw coverage around awards season. It's on the mainstream media.
I think you're overestimating what an average Joe actually sees when it comes to the award season.
I disagree based on experiences with average Joes at work.
Okay, all right. I'm imagining asking someone on the street who Brie Larson is, and I'm pretty sure I'll get blank stares from like 8 out of 10 people.
Fair enough.
She's not Tom Hanks, is what I'm saying.
No, Rami Malek has obviously just had his, in terms of the public perception, has just had his breakout hit in Bohemian Rhapsody.
Ah, small potatoes as far as I'm concerned. Mr. Robot is who he is.
I agree with you, but people recognize him now.
Mr. Robot, that's what he is. That's who he'll always be. I don't care what he does for the rest of his career. He's Mr. Robot. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, this is a prequel to Mr. Robot.
Well, that's terrifying.
Before he went off the deep end and started hacking. That's what he's doing when he's going home at night after his job in this. He's practicing his hacking.
Yeah, that's definitely what's happening.
And he uses an alias. Sure, he doesn't say his name's Elliot, but he's using an alias. Like I'm, Obviously. When he says his name is Nate, I'm like, you're not Nate. You're saying you're Nate.
I don't believe you.
And it's same with Beatriz. It's Rosa. Rosa, we know, uses aliases everywhere she goes.
She's undercover for some reason. Yeah.
We also, we know that Rosa's not even necessarily a real name. That was one of the jokes on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. This is just Rosa.
Yeah.
She's investigating troubled children because one of the kids might be a serial killer.
Obviously.
Yes. So
we should probably say what the movie's about at this point.
Yeah, we'll start spoiler free as we always do, and we'll warn you in the middle before we go into spoilers. Have to get that out. That's more important than telling them the plot. We have to get the
it is
housekeeping done first.
I just assumed you did that a while ago.
No, I was aware that I hadn't, which is why I'm the host and you're not.
It's also because I'm drinking and you fell asleep and we're an hour late, so I had like 3 extra drinks.
Yes. It wasn't Short Term 12 that knocked me out. It was what I tried to watch after Short Term 12 that knocked me out, for the record. So yeah, the movie is essentially a halfway house. That's what Short Term 12 is. Hence, I assume it's the 12th district of short term places. Hence the title. But the whole idea is this is where kids go before they necessarily go to an orphanage. It's also where troubled kids kind of go when they've just been in the incidents that they've been part of, and the idea is that it's supposed to just be maybe a year max at this place, but as they point out in the film, that sometimes that kind of drags on, and some kids are there for 3 or 4 years. And it essentially acts as an orphanage for some of the kids, not necessarily by design, just be kind of, that's how it ends up working out. And we kind of follow the group that run this place, Brie Larson being the main one, and kind of them dealing with her own personal life, but also dealing her professional and personal life as she deals with the kids.
I can see the TV description.
Yes, the CBS TV description, which I'm sure would be much worse than this movie. And that's not even giving away how I feel about this movie. I'm just, no matter what, it would be much worse than this movie.
It would, yeah.
So
this movie would have to be really bad to be worse.
So that's the gist of it. That's the gist of it. It is a personal character study drama of a film, and we deal with the I don't even know if councils is quite the right word, but they look after the kids, and we deal with a couple of specific kids that have their issues, and they try and help these kids. So that's what the film is. So I will ask the question. I mean, neither of us had seen this before. This was a first time watch. I picked this one. It had been on my radar for basically since 2013, and just for whatever reason I never got around to it.
And you were like, damn it, we're watching it.
Yes, so yes, crossing this off the list finally. So how did you feel about Short Term 12?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Oh, there you go. That was a short answer.
Yeah. Well,
give a long enough answer for me to take a drink, damn it.
Well, I did not realise you were planning on taking a drink. I thought you wanted to blunt in with your answer like usual.
Look, that was a longer introduction than I'm used to doing, and I needed a drink to reset myself.
Yeah. This is very unprofessional of you. I mean, it's not, but yeah, it's pretty damn good. Is the point here?
Even TV presenters have like glasses of water and shit.
They do, but they manage to get a drink in without making such a big deal about it.
Yes, but their show is more scheduled in 5-second blocks where they know all their breaks are coming up. We're winging this, Connor. We're winging this.
We are.
I count on you to carry the torch when it needs to be carried.
I get that, but sometimes it's funnier to watch you try and take a drink like 5 times. Oh yeah, you're gonna make a point about it now, aren't you? So how did you find it?
It was really good. It was strong performances, it was strong direction, and that, you know, and a good strong script as well.
It's very simple at its core.
It's the makeup of a very good drama, and that is what it is through and through. It has moments of levity, it has moments of humor where it kind of, you know, it has like, you know, when they're interacting with the kids and they're trying to be nice, like her boyfriend who also works there, who's played by John Gallagher Jr., plays a character named Mason. Like he tends to have some funny moments with some of the kids where he'll lighten the tension and certain moments, because the movie deals with kind of in the never-ending battle that this kind of place is, and the never-ending battle that childhood trauma is, and kind of that. And it's very quickly into the film where you realise that Brie Larson's character Grace is probably suffered some of what some of these kids have went through, and that's going to be kind of what the main point of the movie is that not only is she being there for people when, you know, not that no one was there for her, because we actually do eventually find out that she also kind of went to a foster home at some point, and there was people there for her, so she's kind of paying it forward in a sense. But the idea that whatever she's dealing with, because there's a point about fairly early on in the movie, 20-30 minutes in, I don't know when, I'll get more specific in spoilers with the moment, but there was a moment in the film where I basically realised that almost anything she was saying about a certain character, she was really talking about herself.
Yeah.
And that's effective. It's effective because you start to piece together who she is. Because the movie does a really good job in the script of kind of hinting at her backstory and kind of what she's been through as it goes. And what I liked about it is when it eventually reveals, and she outright says something later on in the film.
It's not a surprise.
It's not a surprise, but it's also not played like a big shock either. It's kind of played in a very, of course this was what happened. This was always what was going to be the answer.
The point wasn't to be surprised at the information. The point is that she finally says it.
Yeah, but I think the point in terms of telling the story that way is the idea that the sad truth is probably what you expect the entire time. And that's kind of how it plays with how it deals with that information as it goes. There's a really hard-hitting thing at the start where we're introduced to the characters because Mr. Robot is what I'm going to call him for the rest of this. Mr. Robot.
It's his first day. He's
not even Mr. Robot, really. This is the thing. I'm just calling him that because that's his TV show. So Mr. Robot is new. It's his first day. And which is simple screenwriting technique. He's our character. He represents the audience.
Here's an excuse to tell you this information.
Well, it's not just that though. It's not just that. You're boiling it down. You're almost not paying it its due there, because it's also an excuse to have a character react like us. To have a character who is shocked at some of the things the kids do or say, to be shocked at the frequency of some of the extreme things in here, to react to the stories, to react to the just the surroundings. So it's more than just an excuse for exposition. It's about giving us a character who we can kind of live through as we're going through the movie. So him being kind of shocked, and I think one of the smartest things to do with that character actually is early on, he's introducing himself and he kind of says something insensitive about why he's there that kind of upsets one of the kids, and it's like, you meant that with the best of intentions. So you don't hate him for it. You don't hold it against him.
And everyone in the room knows that he meant it in a nice way.
Yeah, he did. But he's like, you're coming from a place of a very comfortable life into this world, and you just kind of said that. And again, I'm keeping it for spoilers before we get into details, and I think that was really smart, because I think that at least for a lot of the audience, obviously some of the audience may already sympathise with our character. I mean, everyone sympathises, but what I mean is some audience members might have actually went through that themselves. They might have been foster kids, they might have been in places like this, they might have worked in places like this. But I think for a majority of the audience, you're maybe coming more from his side, where maybe you had, a normal childhood, you grew up with parents, or at least one parent, and you live your normal life, and you necessarily haven't necessarily interacted with this part of the system like most people have. And I think having that character, it's like, oh, hey, I'm being great because I'm here and I'm helping all these kids, and then putting his foot in it immediately by saying the wrong thing, and how that kind of upsets one of them, is smart, because I think that brings us into it, because not that we think we're being like, oh, we're being great because we're watching a movie about this, but just in the sense that we are unprepared for what this actually is. We think we know what it is just from, general knowledge, but the actual day-to-day truth of it is a bit more surprising, I suppose, is what I'm saying. And that character kind of functions in that capacity. So, but he's his first day, and he's getting told this story, and it kind of sets up the down-to-earth drama that it is, where it does have humor. It's not constantly,
No, because it gets heavy at times.
It gets heavy at times, but it's effective when it gets heavy, because it has a lot of levity, and it has a lot of sweet little moments and things like that.
It's almost light-hearted. Not entirely, but there's long stretches where you kind of forget of some of the heavier elements, then they come back in, and you're like, oh yeah.
Again, I think that's to be true to life. Is that these shocking things happen kind of out of nowhere, and most of the time we're going by our business and it's fine, and we're happy, or we're whatever, and then tragedy happens, and
exactly.
That's kind of what Emily. But they're telling him a story. Mason's telling him a story of this because it's a really smart little scene, because he's also explaining the rules of the place, where we're allowed to grab them and restrain them before they get to the gate if they're doing anything dangerous. That said, they are allowed to leave legally. We're not allowed to necessarily stop them from leaving, but we're allowed to talk them out of it. But once they pass the gate, we're not allowed to touch them. So while they're here, we're allowed to restrain them. We're allowed to, because some of the kids, have a history of like inflicting harming themselves and things like that. So they've got the right to step in and take care of. They're there because they're troubled in some way. So he's telling the story of this guy who did run away, this 16-year-old who was like a really big guy. But Mason, who was chasing after him, and he got on a bus after him to try and convince him to come back, had eaten some bad tacos, I think it was that day.
Yeah.
In the cafeteria, and basically knew he was sick and knew that he had to go to the bathroom.
And he decided that, do you know what? I'm getting off at the next stop. I just need to go to the toilet.
Yeah. And then the 16-year-old kid turned around and said, I'm getting off at the next stop. If you follow me off, I'm going to beat the shit out of you. And he had to make the call to get off, and he shot himself when he gets off the bus. Again, this is the opening scene, so I don't think I'm spoiling too much.
Yeah, this is literally the opening.
And it's this really funny scene, and everyone's laughing about it. And you hear it referenced like multiple times throughout this first day that we see them interacting.
Yeah.
But then you find out what actually happened to that kid after this story, and it's a really dark ending. And it's kind of like, oh, okay, there we go. That's the life working in this industry. So, so you constantly feel like the characters are very noble in what they're attempting to do. I mean, I think Gracie's character, and Mason as well, they feel very, very, very dedicated to this job. I think she especially feels like she goes above and beyond. She interacts with the kids in ways that try and makes them feel comfortable, and she'll argue with her boss to try and deal with certain things, even though it's not in her job description to do any of this.
Oh, definitely. I think Mason's maybe a little bit shortchanged in that he is always following Grace's lead. I think I was a little bit disappointed. There's one key moment about 2/3 into the movie for his character where it's like, no, this is his moment to step up. And he kind of doesn't. Which I thought was a little disappointing for his character.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about that in spoilers.
Yeah. But he's the only one that I really felt, because the others are too small of characters to have the same moment of impact.
Yeah, the other characters are there to, like we say, Rami Malek's there as a conduit for the audience. Stephanie Beatriz is a major character. She's just kind of working there, and she's there for
just around a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Most of the other adult characters just function kind of in plot points.
Yeah, those two are the two leads with the arcs to have, and I feel like his doesn't quite live up to the potential that it could have.
I'm curious to see what you think that should have been. Because I always felt like it was really just her arc. Even from early on in the film, it felt like this was her story.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I think it delivered on that because everything was about her.
Absolutely it does.
Yeah. So the direction is very good. It's very natural. There's a lot of handheld, a lot of close-ups, a lot of It's very natural lighting. There's nothing too flashy in terms of anything like that.
No, it's really down to earth.
I feel like This Is Us probably took a lot of cues from the tone of this movie.
Yeah, I could see it. If you like that show, you'd probably love this movie.
Yeah, I was definitely getting some of those vibes in, and that's obviously existed first. So This Is Us has got some splaining to do.
Yeah.
Oh dear, but it's got this jovial tone because they're trying to make the kids feel welcome, and part of that is kind of appealing to kids. The idea that she goes around the place waking up kids who sleep in with a water gun, it's fun. It immediately makes you like the character.
Definitely.
You immediately feel endeared to this group of people, because I think the trap they fall into here is that a snobby writer might think, well, they're helping all these kids, so they're basically saints, so we don't have to actually make the audience like them at all. It's like, no, you still do. You still have to make us like them as people.
They're all really likable characters.
Yeah. And I think what's really impressive about it is even when some of them do mess up, like that moment with Rami Malek where he puts his foot in it, he immediately gets that he's stepped over a line and he immediately tries to apologise. But the awkward feeling in the room feels very real, but at the same time you feel really bad for him. And you can tell that all the other adults in the room feel really bad for him because they know he just messed up and he knows he messed up.
Yeah.
And he's very quickly learned that he messed up.
Yeah.
So they're all very likable in that sense. So great character work. The performance, Brie Larson's performance in this is
it's fantastic.
Is something else. I think this was one of her first big leading roles.
Sounds about right.
Because I think I don't know if I knew who she was at the time. when this came out? I have to.
I'm not sure I did, to be honest. I'd have to have a look at what movies she was in at the.
Oddly, the first thing I ever actually saw her in, bizarrely, was her when she was on Community on the season that shall not be discussed.
No, I remember her small but very memorable role in Don John.
I've seen that. I don't remember her in it. Who was she in Don John?
She was the sister sort of character.
That sounds kind of familiar.
Yeah, she was always in the house.
I can't picture her face though. Like, you know, I've seen that in the theaters when it came out.
She was always sat around the table with the family.
Yeah, obviously because the funny thing is that she's in Scott Pilgrim, and even now I know that's her in Scott Pilgrim, and I still can't believe it.
Yeah, that's what as well. Like, obviously, I saw Scott Pilgrim when that came out, and it's like I know it's her, but it just.
But I wouldn't. I never heard of her before that movie though. So if you'd said to me that's Brie Larson at the time, I wouldn't have cared. I'd be like, okay, whatever. But now I know who Brie Larson is. I'm like, she wasn't in Scott Pilgrim, and then I look at Envy Adams like really closely,
and I'm like, I guess that's.
Oh,
her?
it is. It is her. Yeah.
But you don't just see it. Even though I know it's her, I still have to convince my brain that it is her.
And she was in Greenberg apparently, but
I never saw that.
I saw that when it came out, but that's been 10 years now, so you know.
Yeah.
Whatever. So I think the first thing I saw her in was Community, which was the season that was started in 2013. So this came out the same year that she was in Community.
Yeah. It says she was in 21 Jump Street. I don't remember in that at all.
Nah.
So it must have been
She's
a
got
tiny
the same
role.
name in that though. Oh no, she doesn't. I'm looking at the wrong thing. I'm just looking at her name in this again. I thought that's funny.
How do you even do that?
Like, I just had a nap. All right, I just had a nap.
Yeah.
Give me peace.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone else who shares though come March. She's going to be in a Marvel movie. That is your ticket to stardom now.
Kind of is, yeah.
You'd be in a Marvel movie. You wear your 9 Inch Nails shirt. You have a cat.
She's got a cat?
She's got a cat. You haven't seen the second trailer yet, no?
Well, no, I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
It's the second trailer.
She's got a cat named
Okay.
Chewie.
See, I like the name, but I hate it. It's a cat. So, you know, pros and cons.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'd always do that sort of lighter, jokey bit like after the title at the end.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Nick Fury meeting her cat and like just sort of like, oh, who's a good cat, and just sort of petting it for like.
The cat
26.
better be an alien and try and rip his throat out.
Well, I mean, we do have Skrulls in the movies, so it's not out of the question.
Exactly.
Yeah. By the way, the new trailer knew what it was doing because it put the punching the old lady shot back in it.
I saw, because I didn't intend to this. I was just scrolling through Twitter, and the extended version, shall we say, of that scene showed up.
Yeah. There's a few more moments in it.
Yeah.
Because you see, because we all guessed what the old lady was. That's why she was punching her. But you
see the retaliation.
Which honestly is just really funny to me because it looks like an entire fight plays out when it's still pretending to be an old woman, so it still looks really funny.
Yeah.
The visual's still entertaining.
We should probably be saving this for trailer talk.
We probably should be, yeah. But now you're even going to watch the trailer, I'm going to be doing that solo.
Yeah, but I mean, everything I've just said is things I've seen. We could have had that discussion then.
True. We'll have it again. It's fine.
All right.
It's fine.
Anyone watching this publicly on YouTube? Yeah, you probably already saw that last week.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. This is going to be early for patrons, so yeah. This will be old news anyway.
Yeah.
So there you go. So no. I just So Brie Larson like wasn't a name to me yet when this came out. As was no one else. This is actually really funny to me. There's 4 actors in this who are all pretty prominent actors now that I know from various things. And when it came out, I didn't know any of them.
Yeah, it is kind of funny.
So, I assume Brooklyn Nine-Nine started around this year as well.
It must have done, right?
Yeah, well, we just had season 5, so 2013.
2013, yeah. So it would have been what, September, October 2013.
Yeah, so there you go. So that's just really funny. It's really funny that we're on this little low-budget drama that got a lot of
This
acclaim.
will be just before all the TV season started up for the year.
Yeah. Mr. Robot didn't start till 2015 though, so Malek had another.
Yeah, he had a couple of years on.
Not a little bit of time. But hey, so no, fantastic cast. There's some really great moments with Larson in particular, although they all do a good job. Direction, there's some great moments. There's a scene where Marcus, one of the 2 main kids, because there's Marcus and Jaden, who are the 2 main kids that we kind of get a lot of.
Yeah.
And Marcus likes rap music, and he writes rap lyrics. And there's a scene where he's like rapping some of his new lyrics to Mason. And what I really liked about that scene, because the rap lyrics get very personal, and it's about like his past and things like that. And what I liked about the direction during this scene is that the camera slowly and slowly gets closer and closer into Marcus's face, and the depth of field gets more and more extreme, to the point where we get to the end of the rap lyrics. We've got like this just above his eyes and just below his lips of his face, and Mason, who, because it's like a profile shot, and Mason's like behind him in the shot, is now so blurry that you can barely make him out. Like,
just I know he's there, but otherwise I wouldn't be able to tell.
But it's also handheld, and one of the effects of going in closer handheld is that the closer you go in, the shakier it gets because it's more extreme.
It's more noticeable, yeah.
So that's how that works. So the effect that it has is that it actually gets more, almost like the world's being zoned out the more he says his lyrics. The more he opens up, the more it feels like it's just him and nothing else is surrounding him.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's a really effective little moment. There's a lot of neat little touches like that in the film. It's one of these things where it doesn't feel too flashy, but
it's extremely confident.
Yeah, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like it's not doing anything. It doesn't just feel like it's a simple reverse shot Saw movie and simple coverage. It feels like there is actually thought put out behind all of the coverage.
Oh, definitely,
yeah. So that's good. So I think we'll give a spoiler warning, and we'll dive into the rest of the film. So, I mean, the whole thing's about Grace. Really, it's about her character. It's about what she's going through. Yeah. And we'll talk about the other characters as well. But she hints early on when she's trying to like convince Marcus not to get into trouble, because he's going to leave because he's turning 18, so he's going to be leaving in a few weeks, and she gets the sense that he's scared of actually leaving. He's scared of of going out into the world.
Yeah, we know he's been here. Was it 3 or 4 years, something like that? He's been here a while.
And because we found out he was 15 when he arrived. We found that out later.
Yes. So
she like says, "Oh, my dad's been in prison for 10 years. Like, I don't want that to happen to you." And then you hear stories about her mum having a lot of boyfriends, and you hear stories like this, and it's like, okay, so something about that. And obviously one of the scenes early on is she goes off and she finds out she's pregnant. She confirms it. Because she even says in the scene that she's had 7 tests at home, but she was confirming it at the doctor's. And she immediately just sets a date for an abortion. Like, just like set a date. Saturday's good. Yes, we'll do it then. And what I liked about this though is this is before we actually find out that she's dating Mason. But this is before, because for all we know, this is a one night stand, and that's partly maybe why she's making this choice. But then like a scene later, where she goes home and she's with him, and it's like, oh, she's not even telling him about this
because the kids aren't supposed to know really that they're dating, so that they're being professional at work. So and because all we see of her before this scene at the doctor's is at work, we don't know that they're in a relationship either.
And I think it's interesting to present it in that order, because it's like we kind of make these assumptions of, okay, she doesn't want a kid, that's fine, whatever. But we make these assumptions about, okay, so she's not got a partner, maybe that's why she doesn't want the kid, or this or that. But then you throw this wrench into, no, she's got a regular partner who she's living with, and they seem like they've been together a while. It seems like they're quite close, and she's not even telling him that she's pregnant and she's having an abortion. And it's like, okay, and that at least is kind of some of her character's issues, where she wants to be intimate, but she has trouble doing so. And that sort of leads in, okay, so what went on with her father? Later on, when she gets really concerned about the girl Jaden and how she might be getting abused by her father, it's like, okay, this feels like she's identifying with her because she's went through similar things. And it kind of unravels as you go throughout the film. One of the little points that I loved, actually, is her relationship with Mason throughout the film. It goes up and down kind of as we go, and it kind of, maybe that's a sense of what her character's like, but when she finally tells him, she feels close enough to him to tell him that she's pregnant, and then we see them at the I think it's the anniversary party for their old foster parents, and we see that this foster parents have, over the years they've had maybe like 40-50 kids who are all adults now, so they're all there to celebrate with them, because they've essentially got all these kids that have all flown the coop, and they're all back.
It's like their 30th anniversary or something.
Yeah, and they're all there to celebrate them, and he proposes to her
while they're dancing.
Just kind of whispers
get down
in
on
her
one
ear.
knee though. Bit of a schmuck move.
I don't know. It's more subtle. I get depending on who the two people are, a subtle, non-showy version.
But I feel like do it properly.
But she doesn't want maybe she doesn't want the attention. She doesn't want the showmanship version.
Then do it at home. Then it's not showmanship.
But it's in the moment. That's more romantic.
I get it.
I don't know. Part of me actually likes the idea of just the moment it hits you that you want to marry someone, just say it. Part of me likes that as a romantic gesture more than I'm going to plan meticulously for 5 months of the perfect proposal. We're going to be, under the Eiffel Tower, and there's going to be fountains behind us, and there's going to be all these things.
There's a middle ground, right?
Oh, I'll put the ring in the glass at a restaurant because that's original.
No, that's just cheesy. Don't do that.
No one's ever done that before.
Yeah, don't do that.
But I'd like to think I'd only do that though if I'm at this weird place where I'm not sure if I want to break up with her. So I'm going to use that tactic as fate. If she chokes on the ring and dies, I'm out of it. If she accepts it and says yes, then okay, we're getting married. Fate's decided.
I'll be honest, if you're at a point where you're not sure if you want to break up with her or not, proposing probably isn't the right move. It's probably pretty damn unhealthy.
It depends though. If you're with someone and she hates the idea of commitment and getting married, then that's just your get out of jail free clause. You get to play the victim because you get to propose, but she'll hate it and she'll turn you down, and that's your way out.
You call me cynical.
I'm being cynical in a funny way. You're shooting down this romantic little moment. I'm saying, no, this is genuine. This feels real. This feels like a proper moment. Well, what I was getting to, one of the things I liked about this is that the next morning, he actually drives her into work. They go in together in the same car, because up until this point, she always rides her bike in on her own, and she always arrives later because of that, and she always arrives solo, and that was kind of a neat touch. And this visual of her riding in on her bike, just arriving into this static shot at the front of the building, is used multiple times.
Yeah.
It's used at the end as well when she's riding back with Jaden on her back on the bike, and again, even that's kind of symbolic because she's got her on her back literally at that point.
Yeah.
But no, I like that touch. I think one of the best scenes in the movie actually. Again, and this is again really showing that part of her trauma is sexual in some way. Is there's a scene. It's the first night they're home actually.
Yeah.
Where they've had dinner and they're sitting drawing each other, and she's like a bit of an artist, and she can do an actual drawing, and he's shit. He's my level basically.
Yeah, he's better than your level, but yeah.
You've never seen me draw.
I'm just making assumptions.
His drawing exactly what a shit drawing by someone like me looks like, and presumably you.
Oh, definitely me. My point was that it was that you're even.
Shut it. So she is. They kind of have like a sweet moment here, and then she goes in for a kiss, and you kind of notice that it's been a while since she kissed him like that, and he kind of jokingly says it's been 9 days and like 6 hours or something like that since the last had sex, and she's like, down to the hour, eh? And he's like, well, right. And she keeps going with the kissing, and what I thought was notable about this scene at this point, because again, this is before we've got any indication that she feels, her sexualization or sexuality is an issue, right? That this is the first hints we're getting of that, because he says like 3 or 4 times while they're kissing and getting going, "Are you sure you don't want me to stop?" Which is a really weird thing to say.
It is
in most contexts.
He's consistently like, "Are you all right? You want me to keep going?" It's like, when clearly they're in a long-term relationship.
Yeah, and I think it obviously indicates that they've maybe tried to have sex in that past 9 days, and maybe she's kind of backed out of it like a few times or something like that, or it's an ongoing thing where he knows it's a sensitive thing, so he's being really cautious. But he says it multiple times, and then there's a point where this is where the performance really kicks in, because there's a point where they're still kissing, where she starts to look uncomfortable mid-kiss. It's actually really impressive that you get this from her body language. And then she says stop, and he does actually kind of start to move away. Like he's already like he knows he's leaving. He's moving back away.
Yeah. It's not like he's carrying on. It's like, no, I'm not stopping. She doesn't give him enough time to actually finish stopping.
Yes, he starts to move back, and he's like maybe an inch away from her face, still moving back the way, and she slaps him in the face, but then immediately realizes what she just did, knowing that she just acted out of like instinct and this weird kind of a burst of violence, and kind of gasps and covers her mouth and tries to say sorry,
and he's just like, what the hell?
Yeah. And And then they just sort of like, they're just lying on the couch later on and like they're falling asleep or whatever watching TV, and it's like, okay, so that was like an insight into her character. That was like but what I loved about that scene is that it told us so much through a simple act of body language and that shocking slap. And then the way she reacted to herself doing it afterwards was kind of like, okay, she knows that she just did something weird, but it was kind of instinctual, and it was clearly hinting at what her trauma that she's still not quite dealt with is, because... And I like kind of the hypocrisy that he points out later on, where it's like, maybe if you actually took some of your own advice that you're constantly giving the kids, you'd maybe like open up, because she never tells him what she's thinking about, and he gets very frustrated with that throughout the film. And that, her arc is that she really cares about this girl Jaden, who at first is, and I actually thought the kid was a great actor as well, because
she was good.
Because she comes in and she's like this little smart mouth. She's always swearing.
This little shit, but kind of likable.
Yeah, and because in fact the biggest laugh I got in the movie is during the first scene where she, Grace is introducing her to the place, and she's telling her the rules. You can put anything on the walls, but nothing obscene. And she immediately goes, "Oh, so no pictures of dicks then?" And she's like, "Well, not unless they're really scientific." And then a few scenes later, when she's like doing room checks and she's like searching all the kids are playing outside, she goes into the rooms and she turns around, and the girl who's also an artist like her, again, kind of connecting them as well thematically.
Yeah,
so
she's just like, "Oh, I like the new, the new wall."
And it's like Jaden's like drawing pictures of dicks, but she's labelled them scientifically, and done one that's like an X-rays and it's all the parts inside. It's like, and it just really made me laugh when she looks up and sees these pictures of scientific dicks. I just started laughing. It was just funny.
It's when the kid goes, "They're actually really informative." Just that was the cherry on the top for me.
So no, she's likable, and I think that's what makes it work is that when she does try to get frustrated, when her, because she's meant to go home for the weekends with her dad, and when her dad doesn't show up, and it's that scene of them sitting, the other adults are just sitting around in the sort of the main area with the other kids, and they're noticing as well that he's not showing up, and she's sitting there noticing, and she has someone who cuts herself, and that's been brought up before, and you see that she's digging her nail into her skin, and I think what it does so well is that I think a lot of how the kids react in this movie to certain things could almost feel really cliche, because it's kind of the textbook things that a lot of kids, the ways that a lot of kids react to things, but it feels so authentic that it never comes across as like, oh, we're just doing what you expect.
Yeah, it's true. I think it's all in the acting.
Yeah, the performances are great. The way it's like ticking up over time, and then it kind of unleashes is very good. And it actually kind of telegraphs the ending, because she goes into the cool down room or something. I can't remember what they called it, but there's like a little quiet padded room.
Yeah, like isolation, basically.
There's like a balloon animal in there, and her and Grace end up beating up. And you actually find out that Grace also used to cut herself, so she's got like marks on her leg from when she did that. And they kind of bond a little bit. And she does seem much better. And there's this little sweet act as well where Marcus kind of steps up and makes all the kids make birthday cards for her. Because it's her birthday as well, by the way. just to add insult to
which is presumably why the dad was coming.
Yeah.
But Marcus is not in a great place himself at that point. So it's kind of a moment for him where it's like, no. All right, fine. I'm going to get everyone together and kind of take charge.
Do you know what I liked about that? I liked the idea that because he's turning 18, he's kind of closer to Grace and the rest of the adults than he is the kids now. And him making that choice to make the kids pitch in and make her feel better was kind of him on that path of... Yeah. Not that he's going to have this job specifically, but just that he's kind of getting towards that mindset where he is growing up. And I kind of like that. But Jaden runs away, and Grace runs out after and follows her home to her dad's, and her dad's not there, but she tries to get up to talk to her. And it's when they come back, and Jaden's upset. She tells her this story that she's written about an octopus and a shark, and the entire film is about the octopus and the shark. Don't be fooled otherwise.
Yeah, this is probably the scene of the movie for me.
That's fair. Yeah, that's a great scene. Where, and again, it's the performances.
Definitely.
If the performances weren't here, because every time as Jaden's reading it, she's getting more upset. And Joe, what I liked about this, it mirrors the scene with Mason and Marcus a lot as well, because he's opening up with his art, she's opening up with her art, and it's like because this one's handled a little bit differently though, because I think the one with Marcus and Mason is handled in a way where Mason kind of fades out of the scene because I don't think he connects directly with what Marcus has went through. He's not had that exact experience.
No, it gets to the end and Mason's like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, he's very genuine and he says whatever he can, but he's not, he can't relate to that experience because he's not went through that exact thing. Where Marcus hates his mother because his mother's been abusive and abandoned him and things like that. And his lyrics were very harsh and very specific. There was actually a really well written line in there about his mother just being an abandoned corpse inside the memory of a boy. It was something. Yeah. It was really visual, the thing he said. But here in this scene with Grace, it does keep cutting back to her reaction to everything she's saying, and it's almost like she's recognizing herself the more she speaks.
It's this parallel story.
And it's about how the shark keeps eating the octopus. She keeps calling it a leg. That really bugged me. That's the only thing I don't like about this scene.
It's arms, not legs.
Was it arms? Regardless, they're not arms.
The octopus might see them as arms.
I don't know. I don't think of them as arms.
Well, I mean, they grab things with them.
True, but are they scientifically referred to as arms?
I mean, probably not, but that's not the point. I think it matters.
It's not the point, but she kept calling them arms.
You call me pedantic.
It was just bugging me because I'm like, octopus don't have arms. They're not arms.
They're anthropomorphized so that you connect with the octopus more. That's the point. That's writing 101.
Well, maybe you should have picked an animal with two of them then, so it was more relatable. If anything, I'm thinking this kid had way too many arms to lose.
Jesus Christ.
I'm being facetious.
Yeah, you better be.
Right. But anyway, this is fantastic because she obviously she's talking about how the shark keeps taking and taking and taking, and then he feels guilty after he's taken too much, so he kind of goes and looks for a new friend and comes back, kind of thing.
Yeah, the shark pretends to be the octopus's friend, or claims that it's his friend. I don't know if it is necessarily pretending, because she claims that the shark feels guilty at the end, right? Like it actually feels bad about what it's done. It's almost in its nature.
Yeah, I almost took when she said at the end he goes looking for a new friend, that if again she's the octopus and her dad's the shark, that the shark, she will be the new octopus as well. The idea that things will patch up, things will seem okay for a little bit, and then the dad will go back to eating the arms, if that makes any sense. And because they're actually watching a shark documentary earlier on at one point as well, which kind of feeds into why she's maybe picked this as a metaphor.
Presumably, yeah.
So it's a really great scene, and Grace tries to tell her boss that she's been abused. She understands what she's saying to her, and the psychiatrists are full of shit. But the guy's like, "Look, I care about these kids, but they have to actually say it. They actually have to tell us this is happening."
Yeah, which I understand why that's so frustrating for Grace.
Yeah.
But again, at the same time, I understand why he's like, no. They have to say it. We have to have that actual confirmation.
Well, because this guy's only in a couple of scenes, but what I liked about this one, this is definitely the most important scene he's in, is that he flat out says, if what do you think I fantasize about going out and beating the shit out of anyone who hurt these kids? I care, I want to do this, but
you believe him.
Yeah, it comes across as genuine. It doesn't come across as just someone who's trying to avoid it.
He's like, but this is the reality of the system is if they won't do anything and we haven't got any proof, we haven't got anything to actually say this, we haven't got the right to stop the parent at that point.
Yeah, because she gets upset because what he let her go with her dad. The dad showed up eventually. And she's upset because what she wanted to do was just to kind of block the fact that she can go home for weekends until they can maybe prove something or figure something out, which is not unreasonable either. It's not like she's saying send them to prison right now. She's saying let's just, we think something might be happening, let's just keep it from happening until we know more. She's not being that being unreasonable. She's being very, emotional in this scene. She gets angry.
Oh, definitely.
And she smashes the guy's new lamp that he was very proud of at the start of the film.
He was very happy with that lamp.
It was a touch lamp that had 4 levels of brightness. He was very hyped about it.
He was. He's like, God, touch the lamp.
God, touch my lamp. And he goes out and smashes it, and she gets so upset after this because Marcus harms himself. You think he's going to harm this other kid who he kind of had a bit of a rivalry with, but he's actually hurt himself after his fisher died. Yeah, pretty badly, and they take him to the hospital. And she gets so upset that she kind of lashes out at Mason and says, "I don't want to. I can't marry you. I can't have your child. I have to, You know, I can't, and it's this idea that she doesn't think she can have a normal life. That she. I think the idea of her being a parent when she not only on herself, but seeing what happens to all these kids. Like, what if she fails being a parent? This is what happens to the kid.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
This point here, this is the moment that Mason doesn't become the character that I kind of hoped.
Okay.
Because all movie, you know, he's he's a good guy. He's helping out. He's always there. But he hasn't got the agency, right? It's always Grace making the calls. And this is the point where she's like, no, you know, I don't want anything to do with you at the moment. And he's just like, he kind of just takes it. He's like, I don't know what to do. And he's like, fine, I can't deal with this. I think that was his words. He said, I can't deal with this. And,
he goes home, basically.
He goes home. And that was really frustrating to me because I thought, okay, no, he doesn't need to succeed. I don't want him to succeed because obviously Grace has to come around on her own terms. But it's the fact that he doesn't try to do anything about it that frustrated me, because it felt like that was his character was building to him doing something for himself at that point.
Yeah, I never really thought about it that way, because to me it was like he's been with her for years, he's been helping her for years, but this particular thing she's going through is just something he can't help with. She needs. And I think Jaden finally gives her the therapy where, and not literally, because obviously we see at the end she goes to therapy. She actually goes, because one of the things she finds out, of course, throughout the film is that her dad's going to get out of prison. He's getting out on parole soon, and that brings up some of these feelings as well. And she gets so frustrated that she rides to Jaden's house, her dad's house, because she knows where she keeps the key outside, which is something that I don't think anyone in real life actually does, but movies always have the key hiding somewhere.
No, that's not true. My mum used to do it.
Oh, really? I have literally never met anyone who's done this and had a key like hiding in a pot or under a mat or.
Yeah, no, my mum used to do it. My nan used to do it.
Fair enough.
I mean, I don't know if my mum still does it. Probably not. But...
Okay, but give me the fact that no one ever puts the key to the car up inside the mirror thing at the top, the sun guard.
I'll give you that one. Yeah.
How many movies have you seen where someone just flips that down and the keys drop out?
Yeah. Do you know what always frustrates me about that one is, but. Surely you want to lock the car.
yeah. If you're outside the car and you need the keys, it's not really helpful.
Right, exactly. Because you like with the house key one, it's right. Right, okay, this is a spare. This is a backup. If you forget yours, if you've lost yours, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the car, most cars just come with one key.
Do you know what? I think I'd accept it more if it was hidden in a more obscure place. But under the mat is such an easy place to someone to check. Like
it is, yeah.
You know, I'll just check here. Yeah. Like have like a secret rock that opens out or something. You know?
I was just on a piece of string in this bush. And it was like quite a dense bush, so unless you knew where to look for, it was like, okay.
Or have an outdoor safe that's got a lock pad on it.
This is getting extreme now.
I'm just saying. And have an automated turret in case the fingerprint doesn't match. So, but she goes inside. She grabs a baseball bat from inside the house, and she goes up, and she's standing there looking at the dad as he's sleeping. And then, like, Jaden catches her and says, "This is a bit extreme."
Oh shit!
And they go outside, and they're kind of talking, and she eventually opens up, and she, outright says her dad abused her and got her pregnant, like, because I hinted that earlier on that she'd had a pregnancy before, and this is partly why it was such a hard hitting thing, And this scene, of course, convinces Jane to actually, speak up about her dad, of course, and likewise gives Grace her success of helping this kid, which is, I think, what she really needed to do. To the idea that she stopped this from happening to someone else, that she used her pain to help someone else. But then you have the great catharsis of Jaden grabbing the baseball bat, because she says something like, "Oh yeah, what do you want to do? Go and beat up my dad with a baseball bat while he's sleeping?" And she grabs the bat, and I'm like, "Is she going to do it?" And then she goes up to the car and starts smashing in the windows.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Damn, this kid's good with that bat." I mean, I've never tried to smash in a window with a baseball bat, but I feel like it would take a bit of force.
A bit, yeah. I think the windows aren't as bad as you think. It's the moment I was going to call bullshit. Is because obviously she gives Grace the bat. It's like, here you go, and she goes up for the windshield. Yeah,
she stands in the bonnet and she's going to, or the hood, sorry for everyone else, and she starts smashing. And no, I thought the windshield was quite believable because it was just kind of like denting gradually.
Yeah, because it cracks and it cracks. And I mean, I don't know if you've ever been in a car crash or seen one up close. They don't like crack individually. They crumple out as an entire single piece, even with all these holes in.
Yeah.
So I was going to call bullshit if she went straight through that one.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's the same with movies when they kick in a door too easily. I'm like, no, it's harder to do it than that. It takes a few attempts.
Yeah, have you ever tried to kick in a door?
I actually have, believe it or not.
Yeah, me
too. Because back where I used to work somewhere, manager got us locked out of the office with our keys inside, so we had to kick in the door to the office. And it took two of us alternating a few attempts before it finally
gives way. Yeah,
went in. So I just imagine a car window to take a bit more effort than one baseball swing, especially from like a 12-year-old or whatever she is. But
no,
fair enough.
Car window, you hit in the middle, the glass will just fracture.
Fair enough. But it was just, I was like, man, kid's going to be a superhero in a few years. Give her a chance. But no, her just wailing on that windshield. Over and she's really into it, and again the performance here was really selling it, and that she kind of gets into it, and then she kind of winds down, and she's like, okay, let's go now, and she takes her back, and that leads us to it. And we get a little montage. They're going to keep the baby, of course. I think what I liked about the ending with Grace and Mason is that when she comes home and he's just lying on the couch and she says sorry, and he doesn't even say it, and he just lifts up the sheet.
It goes back to almost the same shot as after the incident where they tried to have sex.
Yeah.
And it just ended with them just watching the TV. Basically, it's kind of the exact same position and shot that this is. It's like just this comfort. Just okay, this is fine. And
what I loved about it is that the idea that, much like with the kids, with these ups and downs, Grace is kind of the same way, where she's going through a lot. She'll say a lot of things, and I think what shows you how much they love each other. He doesn't have to like bask in the apology and make her really like nail down why she was wrong for saying what she said. He just accepts it and they move on. They're going to have fights, they're going to have these moments, but it's about moving on afterwards, and I kind of like that. It's like, this is another ending struggle, and I think the best thing that emulates this in the movie is the fact that the opening and the closing scenes both have this other kid who's around throughout the film, Sammy, who has all these little doll things that represent his sisters, and he tries to escape at the start, and it's this scene where they all chase after him and they grab him, and it's kind of serious because I can't try to calm him down, but there's also a bit of humour to it where they're all kind of cracking jokes as it's happening because it's just a normal occurrence.
Yeah, and to us it's like, what the hell's happening? Because there's this alarm blaring, like this siren.
Well, it's the same.
And then there's a kid just absolutely belting it for the gate.
And again, Rami Malek in this scene is in shock that they're having to chase down kids like this and like grab them. Yeah. But at the end of the film, when he does it again, and they're all running in slow motion, it's a bit more jovial. It's like, no, this is just part of the constant struggle. It's a constant fight. It's one of the things that always comes up in other movies about depression, when we've been reading Mr. Mercury, is the idea that depression is ever present. You never really quite get rid of it. You just constantly have to keep dealing with it. Yeah. And this is just them dealing with this and trying to help the kids the best they can, as consistently as they can, and try to help them get through it. And I think Mason accepting Grace when she does maybe go off the handle a little bit is part of that as well. It's him being there for her, even when it's hard to be there because it's painful or it hurts him in return. Yeah. But unlike the kids, although arguably Marcus is kind of getting there as well, like I said earlier, but she is obviously mature enough to afterwards realize what she's done and kind of patch things up. So I thought that was a really neat way to bookend the film because it ends. It's relatively happy as they're running after him at the end. It's like
it's the kid trying to find a way through, and the four of them just boxing him in. They're like, nope, you're not getting out this time.
Again, it's just this idea of the kids aren't going to want the help. They're going to try and run. They're going to try and call you a shithead and whatever. I was actually really worried that something violent. See when Jaden locks herself in the room after the dad doesn't show up when she gets really angry. And she comes flying for Grace. I thought there was something else on her hand other than a cupcake, and I was worried that Grace's face was getting slashed or something like that.
Yeah.
But again, talking about de-escalating the scene at the end of that, when they've finally got her pinned down and she spits in Mr. Robot's face, and he's
as just like you're squashing me, and Mason's like, oh sorry, and he shuffles out of the way a little bit.
Yeah. And she spits in Mr. Robot's face, and I love that Mason just looks over and goes, "Oh, sorry, man.
Yeah.
Are you okay?" And he's like, "No, not really." Which is a callback to earlier in the film when they first catch the kid, and Rosa says to the kid, "Are you okay?" And Rami Malek just jumps in with, "No, not really. That was intense." And she's like, "I'm not asking you."
Yeah, it's it happens as well.
But yeah, the cupcake thing, because
Yeah,
Mason baked the cupcakes. So when they've got her pinned down, he looks over at Grace with cupcake all over her face, and he's like, "How's my cupcake?"
yeah,
That's funny.
yeah. I don't think the moment where where Rosa asks him if he's okay, and he's like, no, that was intense. It's not the kid running away at the start. It's
Oh, it was
it's
after the fight. It was after the baseball.
the baseball game. Yeah, and Marcus, hits the kid with the bat.
I think it was like wiffle ball. They had like their own rules, but
Whatever.
yeah.
It's baseball of a sort.
Yes. No, I was just saying they had their own version of it.
Yeah.
It was like waffle ball or wiffle ball or something like that.
It's probably a thing.
How about I play baseball where you just like throw waffles at the person? I'll take that and try to catch them in your mouth.
Sounds more fun.
Oh, you hit a ball, but then when you run around the bases, you grab waffles in the way. There's waffles at each base.
Each base is a waffle station.
Yes. Oh, the first base is a waffle station. The second base is the syrup.
Yeah.
And then the third base is a bit of cream.
Yeah.
There you go. So when you get a home run, you get the full loaded waffle.
Yeah. Sounds pretty good.
But it's a really great movie. It's a fantastic drama. And it's a great character study of the main character, who's went through this trauma. And one of the most effective things to do in a drama like this, or any drama, is reveal what the main characters went through by having another character go through a very similar thing, and it's really engaging putting the pieces together as you go through it, as you learn about this character from how she reacts and treats other people, and you learn the faults, you learn the every nuance of her, and that's really interesting. And I actually love that they never show the dad at the end, because part of me was thinking we get a scene at the end where she confronts her dad or something like that. I'm actually kind of glad that no, because she's not going to want him in her life. She's going to go nowhere near him.
Obviously.
So I like they didn't do that, because I feel like that was like a really obvious big drama thing.
Oh, that would have cheapened it so much.
So I'm glad they didn't do that. Life goes on, and Marcus is dating the girl who's 3 years older than him, who he tried to chat up when she arrived. Because again, we end with another funny story outside before the kid runs out, and that's the one we get. And we find out that Marcus has got a job and he's applying for classes. He's doing okay.
Yeah.
Here's a question. Actually, I never really thought about this. But I was thinking about it when we were talking about that. Is what do you do if you're an orphan, right? What do you do when you immediately leave the orphanage? Because presumably you need somewhere to stay while you're looking for a job.
Social housing?
I guess, yeah. I didn't really thought about it.
I mean, I assume.
Yeah, I was just thinking, because obviously, okay, you have to get a job and get a place. That obviously makes sense. But I'm saying, you don't just walk out and walk into a job day one.
No, you don't.
Maybe they get an allowance for a couple of months.
Maybe.
While they're setting themselves up. I imagine that would make sense to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Having not been an orphan, I can't.
No, me either.
Speak from experience. But so Short Term Pills is pretty fantastic actually. So I'm glad I finally got around to watch it. So I guess we'll rate the film. So what are you giving it?
I'm gonna go with an 8.5. I think it could have been that 9 if I mentioned the bit with Mason's character. That's probably the only real weak point for me. Is that it didn't quite go the extra step that could have made him an equal lead in terms of having a real character drive. So that just takes a little bit away from it, but still very good.
I think for me, I never really felt like it was supposed to be a dual lead. For me, it was like, no, she's the lead and he's there to support her story.
I think the problem was that I could see the moment was so easy to have him react just slightly differently, to give him that extra layer and make him just that little bit more integral.
But no, I'm going to give it a 9. I think for me, the direction, the performances are fantastic. I think almost everything with the two main kids, Jaden and Marcus, are great. Whenever you mention the scene where Marcus wants his head shaved, and then when they finally shave it, he asks if there's lumps, because he used to keep his hair long because his mother would leave bumps and bruises and like all sorts. And it's like this really emotional scene. I like how the story unfolds its information, where you know, even the scene where they're at the foster parents' anniversary party, and like Mason makes that speech, it's like, oh, they were both foster kids, and these were their foster parents, and this is where they met, and like, you know, it doesn't tell us that, it doesn't explain that to us. It just,
you just get it through context.
Yeah, it constantly lets us get things as it unfolds through the context, and it doesn't belittle the audience, it doesn't speak down to us, doesn't overstate things. It has metaphors and dramatic, ironic moments, but it doesn't go so far to make it feel like it's been melodramatic or cliched, or like it's some writers like twirling their mustache going, "Oh, I'm such a genius! I wrote this."
No, and that's the thing. Like, you know, the shark and the octopus is such a easy metaphor.
Yeah.
In terms of, you know, you could get really mustache twirly with that, but you know, it coming from this kid and the performance especially is what sells it and just kind of grounds it.
Yeah. So it feels very natural. It feels like a very natural film.
Yeah.
And I respect that. So 9 out of 10 from me. So that is Short Term 12. By all means, let us know what you thought of the film if you've seen it in the comments. Comments are good, as are likes and subscriptions and all those things. But if you really want to support us, you can go over to patreon.com/mailedfuzztv, and you can support us over there for as little as $1 per month. You get these Influx episodes 1 week early, as well as other things. At the $5 tier, of course, you also get to vote on an episode once per month, and so on and so forth. But have a look at those things. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching movies, guys, and we'll see you next time.